The Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship rolls into Silverstone for its second event of the season, and in just a few moments' time, our second Ginetta racing action of the day will be underway. The juniors lining up on the grid now ahead of their formation lap in what are certainly not ideal conditions. We've had quite a lot of heavy rain that's been sweeping through over the last, well, most of the day, let's be honest. So a very wet track indeed facing the drivers, but not deterring the always hardy British motorsport fans who have gathered underneath the shelter, relative shelter of the Silverstone grandstands ahead of what should be an absolutely barnstorming race. This is really the perfect track for the Ginetta Juniors to be able to stretch their legs. Not a track that I believe they've ever raced at before. Certainly if we have had Ginetta Junior action on the Grand Prix circuit here, it's been few and far between, so this is going to be a bit of a voyage into the unknown, especially given the wet conditions, but it's going to be an exciting race nonetheless. It's the second round of the championship. Like with all of Ginetta's racing activities, it all got underway at Alton Park over Easter weekend, with Ginetta making the step now fully across onto the SRO and British GT package for 2023. So this second event, but fourth race of the season, after 3 race wins at Alton for Freddie Slater. Freddie Slater arriving here then as already the comfortable championship leader over Hugo Schwarzer, who had 2 second places and 1 third place finish, and then Finn Harrison, who had only the 1 podium but was consistently inside the top half dozen all weekend long. We also had a podium apiece for Charlie Hart and Alicia Palmowski, but they both found themselves unfortunately suffering from non-finishes at one point or another at Alton, and so they're a little bit further back than they would have liked. So the cars making their way around on their green flag lap then, and an opportunity now to take a look at exactly what the conditions are like around the back of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. This is the way in which they will line up then, with Freddie Slater, the championship leader for R Racing, on the pole position alongside Alicia Palmowski, and the Elite Motorsport driver will be looking for a race win here if possible. Then you've got Charlie Hart and Reza Sivarathan together on row number 2. Row 3 is Mikey Porter and Hugo Schwarzer, with Mackenzie Douglas and Leo Robinson together on row number 4. 5th row of the grid then for Finn Harrison. Chase Fernandez will complete the top 10. The two Assetto Racing teammates together. And then we've got on the 6th row of the grid, Henry Jocelyn and Luca Hopkinson, the Prep Tech UK driver, ahead of another one of the R Racing brigade. Then it is Tom Spragg with Freddie Allen next in line, before Aidy Robinson and Felix Livesey will complete the top 16 on the grid. They make up the 8th row. Row 9 for Bray Anglis and Henry Moss, with Holly Mile at the back of the field. So 3 female drivers on the grid, which I'm reliably informed by Simon Pace, who's provided me with all information Ginetta related this weekend, matches the record of the most female drivers we've ever had on the same Ginetta Junior grid. But it's a record that was initially set back in 2009 and then again last year briefly. So lots of very, very rapid female racing drivers coming through the Ginetta racing ranks these days. And in Alicia Palmowski, we had a podium finishing female driver at Alton Park with that 3rd place in race number 2, but she'd had a non-finish after a crash at Druids in race 1, and then she also had a moment in race 3, so didn't come away from Alton Park with quite as many points as she would have hoped for. But starting today, second on the grid, could this be Palmowski's opportunity to claim her first race victory, I wonder? Well, qualifying would suggest not, because she was 2 seconds slower than pole sitter Freddie Slater. It was a dominant performance by Freddie in that qualifying earlier on today. But in race conditions, it's not all about just having that single lap pace. Those of you who tuned in a while ago to watch the Ginetta GT Academy race will have seen exactly that situation play out, where Nick White and Rami Ramid were doing battle for the victory. Rami definitely quicker, but kept making mistakes, whereas Nick White was not slow and steady, but steady, smooth and steady throughout the race. Really didn't make any mistakes, and that's where what you need in race conditions. The rain absolutely teeming down at Silverstone now, to the point that standing water, and more to the point, spray, is going to become a big issue. This is our onboard camera, which is on board with Tom Spragg, the number 16 driver. He is going to be starting 13th on the grid. Now, at the moment, the spray is a non-issue, as you can see. That's no worse than driving down your average A road, although it does help his wipers are on. This is Reza Samurathan, who will be starting the R Racing car fourth on the grid, who's not yet put his windscreen wipers on. I'm sure he will do when the race actually gets underway. But yes, at low speed, the spray is not the issue. But as you'll see, when the race gets underway and they barrel off into Copse Corner at full tilt, you won't be able to see very far at all on the run into that first corner, or indeed any part of the circuit. So anywhere outside of the top 1 or 2 really in the pack, and you're going to struggle to see where you're going. So that really the bigger issue. You can see the rain bouncing off the tarmac there at Copse Corner, so this is going to be even more of a voyage into the unknown as the first ever Ginetta Junior race around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit is about to get underway. That is Tom Sprague's view from further back on the grid. There's a bit of confusion around Felix Livesey and Harry Moss as to where they're supposed to be lining up, but we've got the bulk of them where they ought to be. And 25 minutes of Michelin Ginetta Junior racing action about to get underway here at Silverstone. The red lights come on top of the starting gantry. They go out after a lengthy hold now, and Alicia Parmovsky makes the better jump initially, at least there from the inside line, and the yellow and black Elite Motorsport driver will try to get the advantage into Copse Corner on lap number 1. Parmovsky on the inside, on the outside Freddie Slater, which could be the grippier side of the road, but I don't think there's much grip anywhere with that amount of standing water. Out of the right hander we go. This is Samurathan's view, in inverted commas. Not really a great view, is it? The windscreen wiper is now working, but he still can't see where he's going. Out front, though, Alicia Parmovsky has a perfect view because she has got the lead going through Maggotts and Beckett's for the first time. Further back, they're going side by side, everyone keeping it on the island for now, but it is Elite Motorsport who have the lead, aquaplaning their way through Maggotts and Beckett's. Look at the water on the road as they head onto the Hanger Straight, and Parmovsky didn't get a great exit from that sequence of corners, so Freddie Slater immediately now starting to come back at her. On board again with Samurathan, who I think is in 4th position. Maybe 5th, actually. I think might have lost a position to, is that Hugo Schwarzer up into 3rd. It's side by side for the lead, most definitely. On the left is Parmovsky. On the right, Freddie Slater, who turns back across the wake of the Elite Motorsport driver, gets the inside line coming out of Stowe. One driver way wide, in fact, several cars off, and in fact, a big collision. That's the number 90 that's got around, and that is Chase Fernandez backwards. The 37 has had a moment of Leo Robinson. I didn't quite see which car it was that Fernandez collided with, but there are 3 cars off down at Stowe, and at least one of them, possibly 2, likely to go no further. It is Slater back in front, Parmovsky then in 2nd position. I think that is Schwarzer in 3rd, who's had a really good start from 6th on the grid, if that's the case, as they work their way past the wing and up towards Abbey Corner in atrocious conditions here at Silverstone. Number 7 car there back out in front. Now, who is the other car involved? Finn Harrison, I think that is, isn't it? Number 38, the similarly liveried car. But the number 90 of Chase Fernandez stuck in the gravel, and already 2 cars stranded in dangerous positions. Could we see maybe the first appearance of the safety car today? We'll wait and see what race control decides to do it. In fact, yes, I can see safety car lights starting to flash on the pit straight, so I think we are going to have an interruption confirmed now on the timing screen. So 2 cars off at Stowe, no choice really, especially in these conditions when other cars can quite easily fire themselves off into the same bit of the Silverstone scenery. No other option but to pause the race whilst the marshals go out there and deal with the incident. So lots going on that opening lap, as we really expected. And Tom Sprague, where did he come out of all of that? In the number 16 car, 13th place at the moment for Tom, which is where he started. Slater then the leader, Parmovsky 2nd. And I do think that Schwartz into 3rd position. We'll get a proper look at this when they come through at the end of the opening lap. Charlie Hart had started pretty well as well. He had a good qualifying effort with 3rd place. He was still running inside the top 4 or so. Their conversation ongoing down at Stowe Corner as the marshals get to work. The safety car waiting for the pack, which is only now coming past me on the start-finish straight. So no, I stand corrected. It is Charlie Hart still in 3rd place, so apologies. In the spray, it was Hart still there in 3rd. So Samurathan 4th, Douglas, then Schwarzer still 6th. So actually, Schwarzer did not make as much progress as I thought he had there. You can see it is definitely the number 50 of Charlie Hart sitting 3rd position. Charlie's father, Chris, has been doing some Ginetta racing over recent years as well, so the next generation of the Hart family continuing on that same career path, it seems, and Charlie running well in 3rd place now. His best finish at Alton Park was a 2nd in this equivalent race, the first race of the 3. Only 2 races this weekend at Silverstone because they're longer races, 25 minutes, due to the longer nature of the track. And as the rain continues to hammer down here at Silverstone, the track only getting wetter now as they tour around behind the safety car. And this is not really what the drivers wanted to see. So confirmation on the timing screen as well. It was Fernandez and Harrison who tangled down at Stowe. Bray Anglis, by the way, has come into the pit lane. Now, that I can't shed any light on as to what the reason is. Didn't see anything obvious happen to Bray on the opening lap. But we might now be able to take a closer look at some of the lap 1 shenanigans that were kicking off a moment or two ago as the safety car period continues. And just try and piece together a few of the things that went on. So, start of the race, good start from Palmowski from pole position. Everyone getting away further down the field as well, and immediately you can see that visibility practically zero for those who are running right at the back. Great reactions there from Palmowski. Charlie Hart away well as well from row 2. Then it's a case of trying to sort things out into Copse Corner, trying to spot where you're going and also to find where the little grip available is. On board here with Tom Spragg from 13th on the grid. He went to the inside line. And, well, not too much sign of aquaplaning, at least on the opening corner. Palmowski there, the yellow and black number 21, got the advantage into Copse Corner, held it for the first quarter of a lap or so, whilst Hart and Porter were together. Now, something happens to Mikey Porter there because he came through 7th at the end of lap 1, but was quite clearly 4th into Copse Corner. This then was Palmowski defending the inside of Stowe, but running wide midway through. That allowed Freddie Slater back past, 1 or 2 running wide further back, and then there, look, Fernandez already going backwards, collides into the side of Finn Harrison's car, 37, in what looked like a fairly innocuous and unrelated spin, and then another spin coming out of the left-hander at Aintree, and that was the number 48 car going around of Luca Hopkinson. So we didn't see that one in the first lap, but Hopkinson going around, coming out of Aintree, just getting the wheel onto the curb there by the looks of it, and looping around at relatively high speed. Going quite that quickly now, though, are we, behind the safety car, and I think we're going to have another lap, probably, of this. I can't imagine that they've got both of those cars out of harm's way already. Good job we've got 5 extra minutes of racing to be enjoyed. He's going to eat into the middle portion of this one, sadly. So Slater the leader, Palmowski second, Hart third, Siroth and 4th, Douglas 5th, gaining 2 spots. Tom Spragg, by the way, our onboard camera car, moving up 5 spots from 13th on the grid to 8th after lap 1, benefiting slightly from the incident down at Stowe Corner. It was a good drive nonetheless. Hopkinson there, 15th position, and I think we're left with 16 of them still running because the 37 did continue after its part in the spins down at Stowe. That was Leo Robinson. And yeah, it does come through now as the 16th car with Harrison and Fernandez in the gravel. Bray Anglis still in the pit lane. So still through that, none the wiser as to what happened to Anglis, actually, number 84. Didn't see that car getting involved in anything down at Stowe Corner, at least. Now, Tom Spragg, as I said, had a fantastic start from 13th on the grid, and we've picked another good car to have our onboard camera with. So whilst we're behind the safety car, let's take a look, shall we, at what his point of view was. Here was the start, so gets a good initial start, controls the wheel spin well, into second gear, dives for the inside line, which is a brave thing to do in a way, because that's not always where the grip is in the wet, but I think he just went where everyone else didn't, to be honest, tried to find a bit of clear view. He's picked up at least 1 spot already, and now just tries to find a gap going into Maggots and Beckett's. That door closes, so he switches from the right to the left, doesn't miss a beat there, didn't lift off the throttle even for a moment, picks up another place into Maggots, and then through the right hand. Now that might be number 38 Finn Harrison ahead of us. Yes, it is. So let's see whether he gets a view of the Fernandez-Harrison spin down at the end of the hanger straight there. We're coming through Chapel now. Final part of that Maggots-Beckett sequence. And that's Finn Harrison just ahead. So Spragg is about to gain another couple of positions, not through his own doing necessarily. But he's already made some brilliant moves up to this point. Down the hanger straight, into the braking zone at Stowe. We can't actually see the cars ahead because of the spray, but hopefully as the speed slows, we might get a view. Down there from 5th into 4th. Does he keep it in 4th through here? Looks looks as though he does. Oh, and a big slide, and there goes Fernandez spinning across. I mean, Tom Sprague must have had a split second to react to that as Fernandez spun across, tagged Harrison. There was another car having a moment to the right as well, which may well have been the 37 actually of Robinson, Leah Robinson. Started up there in the same part of the grid as Fernandez and Harrison. They were 8th, 9th and 10th, those three on the grid, so right through the middle of it all went Tom Sprague up into 8th position. Great start from him, and a great vantage point there of just how difficult it is to know where to go. You know, the drivers all know how to handle the cars in the wet. They'll have done wet testing, and you know, that's not such an issue. But when you're all together, you can't see a thing out of any window of the car, either the front or the side or through the mirrors. You're sort of second guessing where everyone else is going to go. That's a real challenge. So, safety car still out. No sign of the lights being extinguished just yet. Wonder how we're getting on with... oh, no, I spoke too soon. The lights are out, so we're going racing this time. Rather them than me, because the rain, if anything, is at its heaviest now. And standing water definitely will be a factor here. It's now down to Freddie Slater, the championship leader, to decide when he's going to accelerate away. 3 times a winner at Alton Park last time out, but is he going to be able to make it 4 from 4 here today? Briefly lost the lead at the beginning to Alicia Palmowski, who is sticking right on his rear bumper as they head through Brooklands. And does Slater choose to accelerate? Not just yet. Through Luffield corner, trying to find the grip on that outside as well. Now steps on the loud pedal, and Freddie Slater, is that going to gain him any sort of advantage over Palmowski? Not really. Alicia will have a bit of a slipstream here down the pit straight. That is so wet coming through Woodcote corner, and these are all teenagers, remember, many of them not even driving on the roads yet, and now they've got the most atrocious conditions to go and race in here at Silverstone. Slater gets us back underway then with 14 minutes to go. Palmowski second, Charlie Hart there in third, Samurathan is in 4th position. Hold your breath, let's hope they all get through. This is on board with Samurathan, and he's all over Charlie Hart now as they go down towards Maggott and Beckett, side by side for 3rd place then. And is that going to be a change? It is, I think. Charlie Hart, nothing that he could do to defend from that move, and Reza Samurathan goes through into a podium place. Now, do they all get through Maggott and Beckett? So far, so good. The leader, Freddie Slater, already starting to build up a bit of a margin now over Palmowski. The leader has such an advantage in these conditions through visibility, being able to see the road and see where the worst of the standing water is. It's, oh, well, one car clearly not able to do that. That's Adi Robinson off. Is that Copps? Yes, it is. So Adi Robinson's restart lasting not even 1 corner. And from, where was Robinson running? 11th place overall. That unfortunately takes the number 51 car out of the race. Now, side-by-side action through Stowe corner here, as they just try to sort themselves out here. 13 minutes to go, on board with Tom Sprague, who's now dicing away with Hugo Schwarzer, which means that either Schwarzer's lost 1 place or Sprague's gained 1 since the restart, because they were separated briefly by the number 19 machine of Mikey Porter, but that battle will be put on hold because the safety car is coming out again. So, I mean, good luck seeing the safety car boards out there. Big moments over the curbs for Tom Sprague. He's going to lose out to Hugo Schwarzer, who he briefly found a way past, but Schwarzer is going to regain that place after that moment. Oh, Bray Anglis is back out on track, by the way. He's just come through very slowly past the pits. But everyone else will also be slowing down momentarily because the safety car's coming out, and well, we're surely now getting to the point where the track is almost unraceable. It's not what we want to see. We want to see these drivers out there going toe-to-toe, but it's so wet out there. The standing water is getting worse and worse. It's already caught out Adi Robinson on the restart. Fairness, though, actually, the driving standards have been really good in this one so far. We haven't had a huge amount of drivers throwing themselves at the scenery beyond that first lap. So maybe the youngest drivers competing here this weekend, but they are certainly not showing themselves up. Now with the safety car back out again, any chance of clearing away the worst of the surface water gone. 11.5 minutes to go as well, so a couple of laps behind the safety car probably means that we will be looking at maybe a 4-minute, 5-minute restart, depending on how long it takes to get that car dug out of the gravel trap at Copps Corner. Frieza Silverstone then, third position now, and got past Charlie Hart on the restart. And there is the safety car sat in the lake at Maggots. It's, again, a great visual representation of what I've just been talking about with surface water. And a hand out of the cockpit there for Freddie Slater. Now, what was that all about? He was sort of waving vaguely in the direction of Alicia Palmovsky. Not quite sure, or was he maybe gesticulating at the team? He was kind of pointing at his windscreen, so I wonder if Freddie Slater's complaining of a misted up windscreen or something. Not that there's a lot the team can do about that right now, but it's the only thing I can think of. He was kind of pointing at the front of his car as he went past the pits, so safety car will pick them up. Well, or will it? There we go, yes. Off it goes, just in time before race leader Freddie Slater went past it. And with 10 and a bit minutes still to go, I doubt we're going to see a huge amount of racing now in this one. Freddie Slater might have a slightly easier time of this fourth win of the season. Nothing obviously wrong with the car, is there? The windscreen looks okay from the outside, so I'm not quite sure what that waving around was about. Perhaps trying to put across his opinion that the track is getting unraceable. I mean, no great surprise that the race leader would be of that opinion, I guess. Freddie Slater would quite like the race to be stopped right now. We've done 60% of the race, which means that we should have full championship points if it were to be stopped early. But that's not what we want, and I guess whilst we're behind the safety car in controlled conditions, we can just wait and see what the track conditions do. No real issues with visibility, is there from what we can see? It does look a lot better, really, than lots of the cars behind him as far as misting up is concerned. Freddie Slater that to worry about, and as I said, with the safety car we can just almost sit this out now and wait to see if the rain abates a little bit over the next few minutes. He's a Silverstone here in third place, second place of the rookies, because Freddie Slater is also a rookie driver. I mean, in fairness, most of the grid are rookies. I think we've only got 3 drivers not in the rookie category, Alicia Palmovsky being the highest placed of those in second place. So Silverstone then in third position, one of the few drivers I think who would quite like the race to restart again now, because that number 78 car has been going quickly. Right, replay of the restart, and you can see that Slater, it was a decent restart from Slater. We didn't make a huge jump on Palmovsky, did he? The gap that he did start to build up was all through the first few corners of the lap. On board now with Tom Spragg as he comes past the pits. You'll have to take my word for it, you can't see the pits, but he is going past the timing line, goes on the inside. That was brilliantly committed stuff, that, from Tom Spragg. He probably will be doing a rain dance before every race now. These are clearly conditions that he feels at home. It was at a down change going through the middle of Cops Corner, I think it was, from 5th down to 4th briefly. And as they splashed their way through, somewhere in the spray, there is a car that is going to appear perhaps already going the wrong way, is it? Well, the whole pack goes through, and we're still waiting. Oh, there is the car. Now, okay, that is not where I expected the car to appear from. So that's the 51 car, as we said, that had gone off on the restart. Eddie Robinson. It almost looked like he'd had a moment aquaplaning going into the corner, didn't it? Anyway, all of this now a little irrelevant because the red flags are flying. The time has stopped with 8 minutes and 19 seconds to go. But whether we get a restart is doubtful, quite frankly, with the rain only getting heavier. This, I suspect, is because of the weather. It could be that it was taking too long to move Robinson's car out of the way, but I think this is just because the track conditions are now getting beyond the point of being drivable. So the safety car will bring them into the pit lane. We are getting confirmation now it is because of the conditions that the race has been red flagged, but the drivers have not got the message. And they are coming through to complete another lap. The safety car is in the pit lane, and I think everyone else was supposed to follow them in because the red flags are out. You don't come through to take the checkered flag. It's a race stoppage. You come into the pits, and because Freddie Slater didn't come in, no one else followed him. So they're going to have to do another lap now to get back around to pit lane. There is Adi Robinson watching as the 51 car is dragged unceremoniously out of the gravel trap. If I peer out of the commentary box window, by the way, I can see a polystyrene marker board on the left as they approach Copse that's been annihilated by someone, so I suspect that Adi Robinson had something to do with that. Just there, just on the left of the shot, you can just about see the remnants of that on the grass. Checkered flag is showing on the timing screen now, and the cars have stopped on the grid markings. So a little bit of confusion as to what's going on, but I do think the race has been stopped, and stopped for good. But the marshals will now head out and pass on the message, and yes, they've opened up the gate on the pit wall. They can direct the cars into the pit lane that way, and that more or less confirms to me now that we're not going to get a resumption of the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship race here at Silverstone. What a shame, the very first chance that we've ever had to see Ginetta Junior racing on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and we didn't get an awful lot of racing, but hopefully tomorrow's race will not be as weather affected, and we can enjoy some of the slipstreaming battles that we were anticipating we'd see. As I said, it's really the perfect place for this G40 model of Ginetta, be it in its junior guise or the GT5 regulations that we'll see out in the Ginetta GT Championship later on today. It's a great track for any car that relies heavily upon the slipstream, which these cars certainly do, but in those conditions it was less about slipstreaming and more about sheer survival and trying to keep your car between the white lines, which some did better than others, it must be said. Freddie Slater managing to overhaul Alicia Parmovsky after she got past him briefly at the start to claim a fourth win on the trot. The rain, as you can see, is still coming down just as heavily, if not even more heavily than it was a few moments ago, and the marshals now heading out to inspect the track. Yes, it's definitely still wet, that's definitely still a puddle, and it's a puddle that's getting deeper and deeper by the moment. The drainage here at Silverstone is very, very good, as you'd expect from a Formula One standard circuit, but even the very best will struggle under this sort of a deluge, I think. So we may have a brief pause in our proceedings here at Silverstone before we head into British GT qualifying coming up next. We've got one more Ginetta race due to happen later on today as well, right at the end of the day, the Pro Tire Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship, due to have a 25-minute race kicking off at 5:35. We shall wait and see how on time that race ends up being. Good crowd as always in the BRDC grandstand there at the end of the Wellington Straight. The good thing about most of the grandstands here at Silverstone is they do at least have roofs, so you can stay out of the worst of the rain. And we've got a decent crowd on hand here despite the inclement weather. This is only qualifying day as well, the main race day tomorrow. Expect to see a fair few more people out to hopefully enjoy some slightly better weather and some much better racing. So Ginetta Junior drivers heading down to Parc Ferme then, their race coming to an early conclusion. Freddie Slater with the win, Parmovsky getting her second podium of the season, but that is her best finish with a second place. She was third at Alton Park in the second race. Charlie Hart gets on the podium for the second time, a third place for him. Reza Sawarathan fourth, Mackenzie Douglas fifth, and Hugo Schwarzer, who was second in the points, remember, after a really consistent run, 2 seconds and a third place finish at Alton Park. Well, Hugo only sixth in that one, having started sixth as well. Really didn't get much opportunity to improve upon that, and so he will lose a few points. I don't think he'll lose second place though, because Finn Harrison was third in the points, and Finn doesn't appear to be racing with us this weekend in the Assetto racing car. So Schwarzer should retain second in the points. Finn Harrison was in fact joint third with Reza Sawarathan, who will now take sole ownership of that third place. Mackenzie Douglas was next in the points, with Mikey Porter completing the top 6. Charlie Hart will be one of the big winners. He was 7th in the championship. Parmovsky likewise was 8th. So a few drivers who didn't have a great time of it at Alton Park, managing to come back a little bit stronger here at Silverstone. So this looks to me like a circuit inspection. We're being told that's the clerk of the course in that car, taking a closer look at the track conditions, because of course we've got some decisions to be made now, not only about Ginetta action, but as I said, about British GT qualifying that's due imminently. So the clerk of the course with an opportunity now to decide on whether the track is drivable, properly drivable anyway, and if not, how much longer it might be until it is. In fairness, I think the rain has maybe abated slightly. It's certainly not gone altogether, but we only need that sort of 5-10 minute window where it eases off a bit, and then the drainage system will do its job, and we'll get the track back to a drivable and raceable condition. But, well, okay, maybe I was being a tad optimistic with that previous statement. It's still coming down pretty heavily, isn't it? So we'll wait and see then. A short delay, I'm sure, to our proceedings here. But I'm sure the right decision will be made as always. And safety of the drivers of the utmost importance. It's no good sending them out there if they're just going to be aquaplaning off the track left, right and centre. And if I am going to just go back into a slightly more optimistic mode, I think it is brightening up a little. So perhaps if the rain hasn't abated yet, it will do in the relatively near future. Meanwhile, I wonder whether we're getting Ginetta Junior drivers ushered towards a podium of any sort. They've got a long way to go, and they'll all be busy chatting about how their race, what little racing we got, went. But they might be able to go up there and celebrate, and they'll have the undivided attention of the spectators opposite in the grandstands if they do. Not a lot else going on track right now. From what I'm seeing here, though, this doesn't look too bad, in fairness. I know it always looks a little bit more favourable when it's a road car going around the track as opposed to a racing car, obviously running a lot higher off the ground and not going half as quickly as even the Ginetta Junior drivers just were. But I wouldn't say that it's a completely water-soaked and flooded track, so perhaps we won't be sat staring at an empty racetrack for too much longer. Down past the BRDC building, the RDC grandstand, Brooklands corner. You can see the sheer width of the track there and why that is such a great overtaking opportunity. Several different ways of attacking that corner. As the super slow-mo camera is... I thought that was a seamless transition into a super slow-mo. That is just the car slowing down, I believe, as they... I know it is a live super slow-mo. There we go. Well, I will never fail to be impressed by technology of any sort, quite frankly, but that was a very seamless transition into the super slow-mo. And you can see there the amount of standing water being moved aside. But I am relatively optimistic, having watched that lap. I don't think that it's too wet. We hopefully will get GT qualifying up in the near future. So Michelin Ginetta Junior action sadly curtailed due to the weather and a few cars that needed recovering from trackside. But we will hopefully have more Ginetta action coming up a little bit later on in the day. The Ginetta GT Championship will conclude our Saturday's action here on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.